Subnautica is a first-person open-world action-adventure game released in 2018, where the player must scour an alien planet to gather resources needed to build survival materials, craft tools and bases, interact with the environment, and explore the watery depths of this new and exciting, albeit hazardous, planet. Although this is not the kind of game that I would personally typically play, I have found myself spending hours collecting resources, scanning things, building my base to exactly how I want it, exploring the ocean depths, and subsequently running away from scary sea creatures. It really is quite a thrilling game, and I would like to share what I've learnt with others since there is a lot to think about. Hello, I'm Heather at Amalgamingle, and here are 5 things I wish I knew before playing Subnautica.
Oxygen.
Firstly, this game is very big and there's a lot to see, but try to resist the urge to venture too far or too deep too early. There are dangerous creatures lurking in the ocean depths that mean you harm, not to mention a limited oxygen supply initially. There are a lot of resources needed for the basics in the immediate vicinity of your own life pod, so try to stick to this area first and collect as much raw materials as you can to create some starter tools that will help you travel further and deeper. You would think that this would go without saying, but I love exploring so much that I just charged ahead, an eager adventurer, unaware of the perils that lay before me, which just resulted in some scary encounters with leviathan creatures that I wasn't expecting, and some close calls when it came to running out of oxygen that got my heart pounding. It is good to explore and scan everything you come across, but collecting resources and crafting are key in this game. It's also important to note that there isn't a map in the game, so you must chart out the planet yourself, remember where things are, and later use tools such as deployable beacons to create waymarkers for yourself. Furthermore, I spent a long time swimming out into the distance searching for land, but you really needn't bother. There's only 2 islands in the game and the rest of the time is spent submerged. These islands do have some great resources available, so it's a good idea to find them, farm these resources and set up a beacon so that you can easily find them again later.
Welcome aboard, Captain.
The first thing I would recommend is that you familiarise yourself with the fabricator in your life pod, which is used to craft materials and tools to aid you and list what resources you need to do so. There's a lot of things to look at in the fabricator, so I just want to go over a few of the basic things you will need very early in the game. It is wise to first focus on getting a survival knife, a scanner, fins, a flashlight, and a high capacity oxygen tank. I'll go through how to get all of these. The survival knife will help you defend yourself a little and also harvest more raw materials. In order to craft the knife, you will simply need a clump of titanium and silicone rubber. Titanium can be found everywhere around your life pod, and the silicone rubber can be crafted through the fabricator using creepvine clusters. These creepvine clusters are yellow seeds attached to the kelp in the kelp forest area, but do be careful. There are creatures here that will attack you, so it's best to give them a wide berth for now. While in the kelp forest, grab some extra creepvines so that you can fabricate additional silicone rubber needed for some fins. The fins will help you move faster in the water. The next basic tools you will need are the flashlight and the scanner, both of which require a battery. To fabricate batteries, you will need to find some acid mushrooms, which are the purple mushrooms outside your life pod, and you'll need some copper ore, which can be obtained by breaking open limestone outcrops. Batteries in hand, now you need more titanium for the scanner and glass for the flashlight. Glass can be fabricated from quartz, which again is in abundance in the area around your life pod. I would highly recommend stocking up on batteries because it's a good idea to have a few extra on hand in case they run out while you're away from the life pod. The oxygen tank is a little different. You can craft a standard oxygen tank with 3 clumps of titanium, but it is the high capacity oxygen tank that can really make a difference. You will simply need a standard oxygen tank, silver ore, titanium and glass to fabricate the high capacity tank. You will now be able to stay underwater much longer without having to surface for air and worry about your depleting oxygen. Another essential item that you'll need to craft very early in the game is the repair tool, which you will need to fix the radio inside your escape pod. The main things that you need to craft the repair tool is cave sulfur, titanium and silicone rubber. Cave sulfur is quite a tricky one to get hold of. You'll find this inside a sulfur plant, and the problem with this is that it's inhabited by a fish which will charge at you and explode. It's actually quite scary when it happens for the first time. There are some very useful items you can fabricate in the game that may not be essential to survival, but it can make your life a hell of a lot easier. I would recommend fabricating some additional storage boxes, which are called waterproof lockers in the game, so that you can stock up and organise all your resources. All you need is titanium to craft waterproof lockers, and I found this so helpful. I had storage boxes for everything. All my metals were separated individually, plants, batteries and more. The fact that you can label the waterproof lockers is also fantastic, and later in the game when you begin building your base, you are able to fabricate storage lockers which have an even higher capacity and you can store a lot more. I would also recommend fabricating a handful of beacons, which are deployables that can help you find your way around. Only PC players have the luxury of seeing coordinates, and can therefore map things out this way, but console players have to rely on beacons, which you can set out in certain notable locations, name them what you want to, and then the beacon is always visible on your compass unless you disable it. This is very useful since I often found the need to return to certain locations and being unable to find them again in such a vast game where the only point of interest given is your life pod and a directional compass. The beacons were particularly helpful when I found land, places I couldn't access without specific tools later in the game, or places where specific resources were in abundance that I wanted to return to later. When you start a new game, players must select one of 4 possible difficulty modes. The first difficulty setting is Creative Mode, which is basically easy mode where all depleting characteristics such as health and thirst and energy sources are removed and certain blueprints are already unlocked for ease of access. The player can jump right into the game and explore consequence free with little effort required, since the submersible and other items are provided. The second difficulty setting is Survival Mode, which encompasses all the things that you would expect from a normal mode experience of a survival resource game, such as depleting health caused by hunger and thirst. You can die in Survival Mode, but you are respawned with certain items removed from your inventory. The next difficulty setting is Freedom Mode, which is definitely my preference. Freedom Mode is identical to Survival Mode, but without hunger and thirst. The final difficulty mode is Hardcore Mode, which includes permadeath, whereby if the player dies, then they don't respawn. Instead, the save file is deleted and you must start from square one. Which mode you choose is entirely up to you, but as I said, my personal favourite is Freedom Mode, because there's a lot to think about in the game without having to worry about eating and drinking. Freedom Mode is also best option for newcomers who want a fairly easy ride but want the satisfaction of reaping the rewards of their labour rather than having everything handed to you in exchange for nothing in Creative Mode. Something to think about anyway when starting a new game. Personally, the idea of a depleting health bar caused by hunger and thirst just seems anxiety inducing to me. Having to worry about oxygen is enough. So, you've fabricated all of your basic survival tools and have gotten a pretty good idea of how the game works and what it's all about. What next? The game primarily leaves you to your own devices to explore the ocean, the islands, and doesn't really tell you what other items might be useful or where to go, unless a radio message comes through occasionally. One of the main things to aim for is to get the habitat builder so that you can begin building your base, and also fabricate a mobile vehicle bay, where machines can be created for exploration and transportation after finding and scanning their respective fragments and blueprints. The Seamoth in particular is fantastic and really widens the realm of possibilities because you can move faster and deeper. I won't go into too much detail because I don't want to spoil things, but there's a lot to discover in this game, so my advice is to just explore, scan everything and collect materials. So much joy and satisfaction can be gained through building your base as well, and exploring and finding mysterious structures and technology. I loved building my base, and I'm super proud of what I created. I even have an observation deck where I can relax and watch the sunrise, and it's gorgeous. So there we have it. There's 5 things I wish I knew before playing Subnautica. As someone who normally defaults to playing RPGs, JRPGs and action platformers, I was pleasantly surprised at how much I enjoyed Subnautica. So if you are like me and you normally stay clear of resource games, then I would highly recommend giving Subnautica a go. Although perhaps steering clear if you have a fear of the open ocean. Unless you want a scary thrill ride. I mean, Attenborough's ocean depth creatures shown in Blue Planet are nothing compared to what you can find here. Anyway, let me know in the comments if you have any other useful tips that you'd like to share, or if you have any questions about the game, and I will be happy to help where I can. I've been Heather at Amalgamingle, and thank you very much for watching.